Good evening. I'll try to speak a little louder.
That's better.
We have all been commenting here about the fact that Lizzie Borden really still has
Jay.
interest.
Yeah, really.
Oh, is this working?
No, it's you.
Oh, it's me, okay. I'll hold it a little closer. Well, when you're 6'3", they fully expect you're going to be about 5'10". Everything is equipped accordingly. We were just commenting on the fact that Lizzie Borden does still bring out an audience, and I'm sure you all will enjoy yourself this evening. On behalf of the Society, I'd like to welcome you to the third of the installments that we have for the 2017 Fall River History Lecture Series, which has been funded, as usual, by the Grimshaw Goodowitz Charitable Foundation, an organization that has supported the Historical Society in most of its lecture presentation. Now, I know that many of you are already members of the Fall River Historical Society. If not, we would love to have you as members. We'd love to have you as volunteers, and we have a whole number of applications over there. Also available are some handouts for some coming events at the Rock Street Mansion. First of all, the 8th annual Shakespeare in the Park presentation by the Striving Artists Theater Company. Part 1 will be on July 29th, a Saturday, and Part 2 is July 30th on a Sunday. And I'm told that you can attend either Part 1 or Part 2, or attend both parts, and you will get a complete full program. Secondly, the Saturday evening serenades return. And there are Saturday concerts from August 12th to September 2nd, one a week, and as usual, free of charge. This evening, Dr. Stephanie Corey will present the Quasquicentennial of the Borden murders, detailing what we have learned over the last 125 years about this still fascinating, unsolved mystery. Dr. Corey is a Florida native, but now resides here in Fall River, and in fact resides in the house next door to Maplecroft. Dr. Corey is a 1997 graduate of Penn State with a degree in theater, and that is her background, theater. And in 2012 received a library degree from Drexel University in Philadelphia.
Yay!
As the publisher of Hatchet magazine, she of course is an expert on all things Lizzie Borden, but she's also an expert on all things Fall River. Her recent efforts have included writing Fall River Revisited and histories of fires, historic fires of Fall River. She wrote the appendix to Parallel Lives, and she most recently designed the book and cover for Women at Work. She also tells me that all of you should be checking the Herald News. There will be an event celebrating Lizzie Borden on August the 2nd at the Cherry and Webb building. So that's August the 2nd, and it will be sponsored by the Fall River Herald News. And finally, if you enjoy this lecture this evening and are a fan of Facebook, please post a comment on our page and share it with your friends. Dr. Corey?
Well, I'm nowhere near wait. I'm nowhere near 5'6", or 6, yes, or higher. I'm a sprite, or something like that. Hi, how are you? I can't believe you're all here. This is like a lot of you. Welcome on the hottest day of the year. It was 86 degrees in my house. I had to get here to cool down, and then all you people arrived, and it got hot again. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yes, I am from Florida, but I've been interested in Lizzie Borden since I was a kid. It's my dad's fault. I'm going to blame him. He read a book called Goodbye, Lizzie Borden by Robert Spearing, the jurist, and he asked us at dinner, well, what do you think? Did she do it? And I said, who? I don't know who you're talking about. None of us did. Being born and raised in Florida, he was a Yankee, but I was not. So he said, well, y'all have to read this. He didn't say y'all, I just said that. He's from a Yankee, he would never say y'all. He said, you must all read this book so we can discuss it. So we did. So everyone in the family, my brother, my sister, who was living at the house at the time, and my mom, we all read the book, and then we sat around the dinner table and we talked Lizzie Borden for dinner, conversation. I know it sounds odd, but it brought us all together in a very unique way. And ever since that time, I've been involved and interested in true crime and interested in unsolved, and should have probably gone the direction of a forensic degree. Somehow I think I would make a heck of a lot more money. Hi, come on in. And but here I am, and happy to be so. So it is the Quasquicentennial of the Borden murders, which means 125 years. This word was invented in 1967 by an engineer. It's not an old word. He needed a word to advertise 125 years, and so Webster gladly gave him one. So this is 125 years since the Borden murders, but today marks a special day. Today is Lizzie Borden's birthday. I made this little dancing thing here in honor of Lizzie Borden, and brings out my Walt Disney Florida motif thing going, and a cake, wearing sunglasses because it's hot and it's in the summer. She would have been 157 today, so if you thought she was guilty and don't wish to wish her a happy birthday, I totally understand. But it is her birthday, and someone else in the audience as well, I think. Yes, she shares a birthday with Lizzie Borden. So happy birthday, anybody born today. So ever since Parallel Lives, which is the preeminent end-all be-all book on the Borden case, in everyone's opinion, it is heavy and you can't read it in bed because you'd suffocate yourself. It is a great book. And because of that, I thought instead of telling you 125 years of Lizzie Borden, I would have a starting point. And the starting point is 2011 with the release of Parallel Lives. Because to me, it's Lizzie Borden's studies are before Parallel Lives, which is at BPL, and APL, after Parallel Lives. Once this book is out and people have their hands on it and get to know the facts of the case, then if they mess with the facts of the case, they've got no one to blame because it's all here. So some of the things I'm going to present to you tonight are amazingly strange, and some of them are amazingly wonderful. But it's been a mixed bag since 2011 in Lizzie Borden's studies. There have been books, movies, and television, artwork, and of course cartoons, which are always funny. And then I have a surprise at the end, if we get that far. Okay, books. So various books that have come out. I break them down in paranormal, nonfiction, and fiction. So there's a couple of paranormal books that have come out. And I date them from the most current to the latest. This one is by a man named Sam Baltrusis. And he's written two books, actually, on the paranormal. This one, 13 Most Haunted, and then this one here, 13 Most Haunted in Massachusetts, particularly. So he's greatly involved in the paranormal. So these are the two latest books that mention the Lizzie Borden story in terms of its paranormal connections. This is a brand new book. The red star, as you see throughout this book display, are books that the Fall River Historical Society sells. So you may go purchase them and give the Fall River Historical Society your support by doing so, if the book is interesting enough to you. This is a new book called The History and the Haunting of Lizzie Borden by Rebecca Pittman. Rebecca and I have met, so I have to say that she's become somewhat of a friend. This is a book that runs in a series of her. She'll go to a location and she talks about the history of the location, and then she dabbles in the paranormal idea that also occurs there. So she's gone to various places around the country. She's doing one on Salem right now. She claims, though, to have solved the case in this book by recognizing a pair of shoes in a picture. So you'll have to read the book to find out. It is a very thick book, and it's about that thick. Yes, it's very thick, paperback. This is a brand new book that I myself have not seen, but it was written in England by an Englishman who's the Deputy Chief Magistrate. And I won't say stipendiary. It's probably one of those words that doesn't sound the same in stipendiary. All right, if you say so. He's a British police guy person. And he wrote a book, and it was just released, called Lizzie Borden and the Massachusetts Axe Murders. I haven't read it yet. It is published in England. You have to buy it, and they import it. It's a little pricey, but I just want to, I can't tell you it's going to be great. I haven't seen it, but also in the Lizzie Borden world, things about Lizzie Borden that come out of England are often dreadfully wrong. They put bad photographs in there, the not Lizzie Borden photographs as Lizzie. I'm not saying he's done this because I can't say, but always beware of anything Lizzie Borden British. That's just a warning to you. This is a new book that's come out by John Cummings, Murder, Manslaughter, and Mayhem on the South Coast, Volume 1. It includes Lizzie Borden. You'll notice I'm with Stephanie Corey, so I helped John on this book. This was just released. It's available at the Fall River Historical Society. There's a little section on Lizzie in there, as well as it starts with Sarah Cornell and goes up to 1969 with the Russ Goldstein murder in Fall River. Volume 2 will be out, I don't know when, soon, right? We're working on that now. So this is available as well. The Borden Murders, I have met Sarah Miller, the author of this. She's a lovely human being. And this is really a young adult book, but it's a crossover. It's good for adults, too. It's very well written. It's entirely accurate, and it's an excellent retelling of the case, and I highly recommend it. While the Historical Society doesn't carry it as of yet, they do have it at the Fall River Public Library and other public libraries in the area, so you can check it out. I do recommend it. She's also available on some podcasts where she talks, I think 3 separate episodes on podcasts where she talks about the case with the late author Richard Behrens. Joe Conforti, a Fall River native, wrote a book in 2015 called Lizzie Borden on Trial, receiving very substantial, important reviews, considered quite a good book. It's an easy to read, believe it or not, because Joe is such a learned person, but he writes so that you can understand what he's saying. And it's about the social and ethnic world of Lizzie's day and how her milieu, which is a unique telling of the story. And it's really quite good, and I highly recommend it. And I think that it doesn't have a red star only because you're sold out at the Historical Society. This one I don't know anything about, but it says, it's a mystery, getting away with murder. Now, I think it's unsolved cases as opposed to accusing people of committing crimes, but we won't know. Just wanted to let you know it exists. This one has the best title, One August Morning. What a great title. I wish I'd written the book called One August Morning, but it's horrible. It's so bad. It is a part of a series that this person puts out, Troy Taylor. He must have published 100 books. I'm serious. I don't know how he churns them out. But he's got a ton of books they call the Dead Men Do Tell series. And he did one on Lizzie Borden, and it's just the worst thing you'd ever want to look at. Don't go there for facts, but gosh, it's got a great title. Nonfiction American Murder Houses. This isn't about paranormal. This is about actual houses in the country that still exist and are still there, that are not torn down where murders happen. That's kind of interesting in and of itself, if you like to do murder tours. This is a book that's called Lizzie Borden's Resurrections. It tells you about all the characters in the case and what happened to them after the fact, when they died, how strangely they died in some cases, where they're buried, so you can go visit them if you'd like. Written by Sherry Chapman. My company published this book. It's a really good seller for us, and the Historical Society has a copy so you can browse through it if you want to see what that's all about. This is Cold Case to Case Closed by Rich Little. Is Rich here tonight? Are you here? Okay, good. All right, Rich. This is a book that has caused a lot of problems in the Borden community. And the reason why is because it's a mix of nonfiction and fiction. Every other chapter is fiction, nonfiction, fiction, nonfiction, fiction, nonfiction. But the fiction part is a purported diary of Lizzie Borden in her own words. So people think there's a Lizzie Borden diary out there, that there's a Lizzie Borden journal out there, and they want to get their hands on it, and it's being hidden by the Fall River Historical Society in their vault, and they've got it, and they're not going to let anybody know about it, and it's a secret, and no, it's not. It's a fictional insertion in a nonfiction book. So it's causing problems with people just generally understanding that. So if he was here, I would say the same thing to his face. I'm not talking behind his back. It's just a complicated issue when you're dealing with history and you're trying to get it right, and then somebody throws this kind of mix in the mix, and people don't know the difference, or it's not clear to them that this is fiction, this diary portion. This is a new book in 2011 by Bill James. He's quite a renowned baseball author, and he wrote a book on popular crime and violence and reflections on violence and culture, and Lizzie Borden is included in this. So this is quite a hefty tome of importance. Houses of death, horrific scenes behind closed doors. Every neighborhood has a murder house. I don't know about that. My neighborhood doesn't have a murder house, but Fall River has a murder house or two. So this is by a Scottish gentleman, and he, luckily Lizzie's not on the cover, I like that. But this is about houses of death, obviously the title, very good. This is a book that I haven't had my hands on yet, but I think it's only available as a download, like a Kindle book. And it's called On the Road to Fall River, The Hunt for Lizzie Borden. It's not a tiny little book, it's a thick little thing, and he talks about, he tries to logically deduce who committed the murders. And it's called On the Road to Fall River. I think you can get it very, very inexpensively as a Kindle download. And now fiction. Okay, this is a book that's coming out next year by acclaimed author Dawn Ias, who I don't know if you've heard of her before, I haven't, but it's such an odd idea for a book that I'm wondering if it's written properly. It says that it's 17-year-old Lizzie Borden has never been kissed. She stays in the kitchen where she dreams of becoming a chef, and she has tyrannical parents who force her to work in the family's bed and breakfast. And she has blackout episodes that started when she had her first period, and she longs for freedom, and then enters this unpredictable, effervescent Bridget Sullivan, who joins the staff as the new maid, and they're instantly drawn together in some kind of, looks like sexual way, and her parents try to restrain her, and it gets worse and worse, and she gets angry and ... So I don't know what the heck this is about, because that's a strange one to say that, I don't know. I have to read it to see. I like fiction. I like fiction because fiction is a world unto itself, and it can create a whole new world, and it doesn't have to adhere to anything, but it should sort of be recognizable in there somewhere. So I'm looking forward to taking a look at this one and see what it's about, but it's not out yet. Interesting cover. The Murderer's Maid. Even though it's got Lizzie's face on the cover, the murderer's maid would be Bridget, I assume. Erica Mailman, like that name, she is actually a member of the Lizzie Borden Society Forum, which I host on my website, lizzieandrewborden.com. So if you'd like to speak to her, she's available to be chatted with on the computer if you have one. And she wrote a book where she blends the current and the past, kind of like The Weight of Water, that book that came out that was about the Isle of Shoals Smutty Nose murder, and then the modern relationships that was a bestseller about 10 years ago. She blends a modern woman's story and then the Lizzie Borden story and sort of parallels them emotionally. This is a book that's coming out August 4th called The Haunting of Dr. Bowen. Just found this last night. Somebody told me about it. It's an interesting idea. In it, Dr. Bowen is stalked by spirits, and he needs to solve the mystery of the spirits of Fall River. And it sounds, I don't know, it sounds kind of interesting. And I've never seen anybody use Dr. Bowen as a main character of a story before, so give that one a shot. But the same author also wrote another book I'll share with you in a minute. This book, however, this is the book that's receiving all the attention. This has been released, See What I Have Done by Sarah Schmid. Sarah Schmid is an Australian author, and this book has received very important rave reviews in England and Australia and in Europe. And it is considered by most to be a very good book, a very good work of fiction. I haven't read it. She's also on the forum and is available to chat about her book if you want to read the book and talk to the author. She uses the forum and my resources to help her. She really studied the case, she said, in order to try to get it right. This is the other book by that Dr. Bowen author. Yeah. Lizzie Borden, Zombie Hunter, a la Abraham Lincoln Vampire Killer, I guess. I don't mind books like that as long as they're historically accurate. Like if you've never read Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, it is absolutely historically true, except the vampire stuff. I mean, seriously, his life is right, who he knew, his wife, his relationships, his journey through his lawyering into the presidency, it's all absolutely true, except the vampire stuff. So it's amusing. I don't know what she's done here. I don't know if she's gone that close to the story. The cover kind of grosses me out, but it's the same author who did the Bowen book. So I think she's stuck on Lizzie now. Maybe she'll pick another character to write about. Or maybe a real life person. Maybe it'll be Michael Martin's Vampire Slayer. That'd be cool. Yeah. There's a whole series of these little teeny books on Amazon that are, notice it says 5 pages. Please, 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 when you go and you look at titles for Lizzie Borden, look at the number of pages. Often they're just these tiny little things that somebody puts together, self-publishes, and puts online for $1. But if 1,000 people spend $1, that's $1,000, and they're generally pretty much nothing. So take a look at page count when you're looking at a book to buy. I just put this up there for that because it's obviously a very silly cover. And this Drac von Stoller has a lot of books like this out there on various topics. So, The Ghost of Lizzie Borden. 5 whole pages. I wonder what you can say in 5 pages. I wonder if the print's this big, too. Walter Satterthwaite, who wrote Miss Lizzie, very famous, well-regarded book in the Lizzie fiction genre, has released a second sequel called New York Nocturne. And it's getting good reviews, and he is recreating his character of Lizzie Borden in New York. And so that's all I can say. The first one was a little adult, I would say, a little bit. So I'm not sure about this one. The Fall River Public Library has copies of this too if you'd like to check it out instead of buy it. But Walter is a prolific author. And this is The Minuscule Monk, a Lizzie Borden girl detective mystery by the late Richard Behrens. Richard Behrens was one of my best friends in the whole world, and he passed away this year of prostate cancer. And he wrote a series of books called Lizzie Borden Girl Detective, and they are magnificent, they're charming, they're historically well-placed, all the detail of the history of the time is exactly right. He did his homework, and they're whimsical. And he has Lizzie Borden as a teenager solving crime in Fall River. And they're really good. And if you want to like Lizzie when she's 17 and 16 years old, this is it. There's also allusions to possible future history and infamy in the books, but I highly recommend his Girl Detective Mysteries. You can download all of his minis. He has these minis, short stories, for free with your Kindle, and check him out that way. But this is sold at the Fall River Historical Society. It's too bad about Richard. This is a book called Double Edge, and I didn't know it was a Lizzie Borden book until I sort of got deeper into it. Stephen King apparently thinks highly of this author, Dennis Etchison, and it is called Double Edge, and Lizzie Borden took an axe, which, how often have you heard that? So this is a novel which offers a brilliant solution to the most famous unsolved murder in America. So we'll have to see. It's gotten good reviews, so it might be worth a read. This one called The Secrets of Lizzie Borden. I love the cover. This one is a Lizzie dreaming of freedom theme again. Brandy Purdy obviously read Parallel Lives before she wrote this book. Let me just leave it at that. Now, Sherry Priest. I'm going to go to the next one and then come back to this one. This was her first book on Lizzie Borden called Maplecroft. And they're called the Borden Dispatches. I really liked this book. I thought it was fun. Lizzie Borden has to kill her parents in this book because of what they are and what's happened to them. There's sort of possession by this sort of alien evil, and it's infecting people. And the only way to get rid of it is to like kill the person that's passing it around. It's interesting, right? So she wrote this, and I really like, and Emma is an interesting character in this. And Emma is a scientist of world renown in this, but she has to pretend she's a man and use a man's name because back then she couldn't be a woman being a scientist. So she's trying to solve the medical side of this issue while Lizzie is out there fighting the disease with her axe. So then the second book in the series is Chapelwood, and she's still at it, apparently. But she's very well written, very entertaining, quick read, great evening fun. I did enjoy them, as crazy as they sound. They were an interesting story. Girl with the Pansy Pen. The author is here, he's sitting over there, Michael Brumbaugh. He wrote this book in 2013. He's a Fall River native. It is the story of Lizzie Borden and the murders, but it takes you through sort of an emotional side of Lizzie, her family, the characters in the tale, her relationships, and the ultimate acquittal and life after and what happens to Bridget. So it's quite, people who have read it love it. Of course I do, because it's Michael's book. But we highly recommend it, and they do sell it at the Fall River Historical Society. The Girl with the Pansy Pen. Movies and TV. All right. There's some weird stuff out there, okay? I'm warning you. I'm warning you. It's okay to go gross. It's okay to react. It's okay to go, oh my God, they did it. Yeah, they did. So anyway, here's just little teeny clips of some things that have happened since 2011 in terms of film and television with Lizzie Borden. Of course, the Lizzie Borden Chronicles with Christina Ricci as Lizzie Borden. This is not for everyone. It is grand guignol. It is American Horror Story. It is absurd. It's Lizzie Borden as a serial killer, and she kills a lot of people. And it's crazy, like extreme, with very modern music, and I adored it because it was so crazy. It was so creative. I did like it a lot. Anyway, this is a 1-minute trailer for the series for you to see.
She came for
wasn't too bad, right? No, you can handle that one, right? It was gross, but it was inspired by a movie for Lifetime Lifetime, called Lizzie Borden Took an Axe. Same characters, same actors, but it was a movie. And this is the trailer for that.
I thought we were so many enemies. I have a feeling that something terrible is going to happen.
Did you love your father?
No, it's difficult.
I don't think you're going to that party tonight.
Aren't you a Sunday school teacher?
Only on Sundays.
I think Lizzie Borden killed both her parents with an axe.
I'm just having a difficult time believing she could do this.
You know why I don't run? Because I vowed to myself, that's what killers do.
She's an insane woman. Did you go into the basement that morning?
No.
Did you see your mother upstairs? Miss Borden, did you love your mother?
She's not my mother!
You're a murderer.
And Father, I do love you so.
I do love that line, though. Aren't you a Sunday school teacher? Only on Sundays. That's the kind of thing that's all the way through. And there's a lot of in-jokes and things, so if you know the case, it's actually, you can chuckle along because it's like, if you know the story, it's like, ah, ha, 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 that's a good one, that's a good one. Of course, none of this looks like Fall River. It was filmed in Canada. But none of these things are filmed in Fall River. This one is awful. This is apparently going to be Fall River, okay? And it's supposed to be the house of Lizzie Borden. And since we're all in Fall River, you laugh along with me at their version of what Fall River looks like.
Well, here it is. Sure this is the house?
Hi, I'm Diana Eastbrook. My name is Kate.
Michael King, nice to meet you. This is Karen, Nikki, Jen, and Scott.
Hi. Come on in.
This house is wicked gross. Welcome to Fall River.
What lady do you dress? What's wrong?
Just researching some stuff after what happened last night.
Nothing happened last night, except you had a nightmare.
You know everything, don't you?
What are you talking about?
Wait. You don't know that you live in the infamous Lizzie Borden house?
Who's Lizzie Borden?
We have to leave now. We just have to leave now.
They died so that you can be home.
It's called schlock. Technically, it's called schlock. Schlock movies. It's to try to scare you. It's full of blood and guts. It has no rhyme or reason to it. It certainly didn't look like Fall River. Did it look like Fall River? And can you imagine 92 Seconds with a big old pool in the backyard? Oh my God. And a white carpet in the upstairs. Oh my gosh, how tacky was that? Oh my goodness. There's a lot of that. Even in the original Elizabeth Montgomery movie, the Legend of Lizzie Borden, it didn't look like Fall River. There was a mountain in the background and the Borden house was made of brick. But the story was so darn good and the acting was so darn good, and it's imprinted in our brain as the truth, even though it may not be, that it passes muster still. But the mountain in the background in the opening scene of that movie is kind of funny too. So this is one of the worst movies ever made about Lizzie Borden. It actually stars Gary Busey and Corbin Burnson. The actress Amanda Baker is really good in this, though. She is, I will say, the only good thing about it. But it's another very strange where he tries to regress her and Lizzie possesses her. There's a lot of Lizzie possession kind of, you know, if you like Candyman kind of things, where if you call her forth, she comes and she grabs you and becomes you and then wants to kill people. So here's the trailer. Yeah, right. There's the house.
You're not in any danger. You're calm and relaxed. Breathe. Breathe. Lizzie, wake up. Wake up.
Really going out of my mind lately. I'm seeing things.
You don't even remember living here.
Oh, I know, but I should. When they told me I was living here when I was just a child.
It's just you and me now. There's no way you can move forward with your life unless you understand and know your parents.
I went out of that house.
They took care of everything.
They was there.
The damnation of hell will be upon you. That's where you belong. I can't help you face the present if you're not willing to face the past.
Coming soon and going away and never coming back. Another dreadful Lizzie Borden movie. They're all like that. I don't know why. Oh yes, another. Here's Leslie Borden, a descendant of Lizzie Borden, who's having a slumber party and has a harmless seance to conjure the dead Lizzie, and oh my gosh, she appears.
Lizzie Borden took an axe.
Choose your words carefully.
It just needs someone to understand.
Stop it. You disgust me.
And gave her mother 40 whacks. And she saw what she had done.
Tried to explain, but
She gave her father 41. Now, the most infamous axe murderer in history returns.
I call the name of Lizzie Borden.
And she is not happy.
Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40.
say that stupid barb again, and I'll hurt you.
Lizzie Borden's revenge. Axe is back.
I want to know who puts up money for this, and I want to know if they'll give me some. Because, my goodness, I can put out 2 hours of a black screen and be more entertaining than this kind of stuff. This is just despicable. What kills me is they perpetuate the story that she's a murderer, right? They just say it. She's the most famous axe murderer in history. Okay, haven't read a book about it? That's fine. All right, then. Then we have the paranormal. The paranormal stories that infest the television screen. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, you have to be careful when you watch these television shows. I actually know a person who studies ghosts and hauntings and is a paranormal guy, and he tells me which shows are complete frauds and which ones make it up and which ones don't, which ones really try hard but don't find anything kind of stuff. This one is called Dead Files, and it's on Saturday nights. It's still on. And they came to Fall River to do this show. The woman is the psychic medium, and the man is a New York City detective, retired. And they apparently arrive at the location at separate times and do their investigations without any connection to the other. And in this case, they went to the Borden house and apparently went through the house and took away all the Lizzie Borden photos in the house. I don't know how they can, they're everywhere. And so that the psychic didn't know what she looked like. Like, she doesn't know what Lizzie Borden looks like, right? So she goes in and does her study and does her feeling and walks through the house. And then he comes and he does his, quote, investigation. And this one had a surprise for me at the end that made me probably, my blood pressure went through the roof after this, but I'll show you what they did. But here is just a clip.
Steve and I conduct our investigations separately, and we never know about each other's findings until the very end. It's his job to find out about the history of the locations and to interview witnesses to see if there's any connections between his findings and my experience. This person is crazy. Mental.
This is a woman.
Yeah, this is a woman.
What's wrong?
Well, I'm looking here.
Why?
Because I'm being touched. And that she's over there, she's like seeping out of the ceiling. She makes me sick. Physically sick.
Why does she?
I think it's her energy. Because her energy is crazy energy.
Okay.
So it's like really hyper and like intense. And like I feel like she knows I'm here now or something. I feel weird. Like she growls, she's like growling.
Right now?
Like she's like over there but I hear her and I feel like she's like breathing and growling. She's like like that, like drooling. A man smacking a woman. Man. Like and she's pretty small. He's pretty big. Like you can see like her whole face, like, you know what I mean? Like you smack and you can just like see like really pounding on her, like pulling her hair, like just really nasty, like just like beating the crap out of her.
Who is it?
I think it's the father. Again, like a lot of beatings. Lots of beatings. Lots of beatings. There's like rape, getting raped, people being tied up. There was incest.
I'm going to skip this little part because she talks about some pretty nasty stuff, really nasty stuff, and makes it up as she goes along, and it's pretty horrific, and then they do the reveal.
Now, this is the sketch from the woman in the kitchen?
Yes.
This is amazing. Now, during my investigation, investigation, I was able to acquire a very rare picture of Lizzie Borden as an old woman. I want you guys to take a look at this and tell me what you think. That's Lizzie Borden. And what's going to be having you say it?
It's unmistakable.
Uncanny.
Same features, frizz in the hair.
Could this be the scenario? Mr. Borden abuses his daughters and the stepmother does nothing. Two sisters plan the murder. They split the money and move on with their lives. Is it possible?
Oh, yes. I think there were a lot of bad things that happened here. And she was a victim as well as a murderess.
That's Leanne Wilbur's face right there. Leanne has usually, in these stories, she can see through the baloney. And that's Leanne's I see your baloney face. Because the picture that they showed, they took from Parallel Lives and they photoshopped it in order to fit the end. The picture on the left is the picture of Lizzie Borden that was discovered by the Fall River Historical Society that was published in Parallel Lives. The picture on the right is the photoshopped version that they used in the show where they took off her hat and made her hair dark, changed the background in order to sell their story. When you take a piece of history, an historical discovery like this picture of Lizzie Borden as an old woman, and you corrupt it in order to make a sale of a show that's full of obnoxious, horrific, scandalous, libelous junk, to me, it's a crime. And I have a big problem with this TV show, and I don't want you to watch it anymore if you do. Because if they do it to this show, and if they do it to Lizzie Borden, they do it to everything. This is wrong. It's wrong to Fall River and the memory of the people in this city for them to do something like this to her, because this is what they did. And I was like, oh my God, I watch it, and at the end I'm like, no, they did not. They did not. Yeah, they did. So my anger was just severe. I had to go blog about it and raise the stink, and of course, nobody cares. But anyway, Ghost Adventures came. These guys come and they do their thing, and they are hilarious because they're very intense. And I'm going to pass through this one because I just want to. This is a new movie that's coming out. They're asking for your money. It is in production, and they need your money, and they're crowdsourcing the production. So if you'd like to donate money for another 5 college students move into off-campus housing in Fall River. I want to know about that. That means there's a big old university here, huh? Well, we do have a college, right? But off-campus housing, and look at the house. Yes. So if you want to donate money to be a part of the production of another schlocky Lizzie Borden movie, you can do that. There is a movie coming out with Chloe Sevigny. She was at the Lizzie Borden house. This is her when she visited the house. It's with her and Kristen Stewart. It's finished its production in Savannah, Georgia, and Charleston. And nobody knows what the script is like. Nobody knows what the story gears towards. Nobody knows what kind it had. They've been very tight about the theme. It was supposed to be a mini-series, and then it became a film. And it's done. It's tentatively titled Lizzie. I don't know what kind of movie it's going to be, but it will be out probably by the end of the year, maybe. I'm not sure. It's slowly in production. BuzzFeed is a world-famous website, and they also do video, and they also cover the wild and wacky stories. This is entertaining. This isn't horrible. This isn't scary. This is funny and interesting. They send these 2 guys around the country, and they try to look. One of them believes in ghosts, and one of them doesn't. They have a graphic though, which is really cool, but it's like totally wrong. So I wanted to tell you before we get to it so that you understand. Like they have the ground floor there. They have a big old table in the kitchen in the back here, which wasn't there. The rooms are okay on the ground floor, and the upper floor, the bed's not in the right place for the father. But remember, this is the front door over here, right? The front door. And then they have Bridget's bed on the third floor on the wrong side of the house. That's just for you to know so that when you see it, because they move these people around, that Bridget's room is in the back of the house overlooking the backyard. So you'll see. This is really very entertaining.
This week on BuzzFeed Unsolved, we investigate the Lizzie Borden house as part of our ongoing investigation into the question, are ghosts real? A house that had such a tragic murder inside of it, or should I say murders, should be haunted.
Yeah, but why is it only them? Why is someone who choked on a peanut doesn't get a ghost?
I don't know, that's not things work.
Let's yuck it up then.
Great. Let's examine the timeline of the day of the murder, according to eyewitness testimony. At around 10:40 a.m., Andrew Borden takes a nap on the living room couch. At this time, Mrs. Borden was believed to be in a doctor's office.
That's all
At
wrong.
about 10:50 to 10:55 a.m., Lizzie claims she is in the backyard barn.
Backyard.
Maggie, the family maid, claimed to be taking a nap in her room upstairs. At around 11:15 a.m.,
11
Lizzie
o'clock.
in the backyard reportedly heard a, quote, heavy fall and a subdued groaning, end quote. According to Lizzie, on her approach to the house, she noticed the screen door was now open and goes inside. Maggie, the maid, had not yet fallen asleep when she heard Lizzie Borden crying out, quote, come down quick, father's dead. Somebody's come in and killed him, end quote. Maggie ran down the stairs to see the brutal murder scene of Andrew Borden laying across the couch. Maggie also noted that the distraught Lizzie Borden was wearing a blue, unstained dress. There was no sign of a struggle, as Mr. Borden was believed to be asleep when he was murdered. This is where it happened. So you walk down, I don't know if it was this staircase or the other staircase, but this is where she found Mr. Borden laying down.
Was it on this exact couch?
I don't know if it was this exact couch, but it sure as hell looks like the exact couch. I mean, look at the pictures over here.
That's his head.
That was his head.
Good Lord.
Right after Shane speaks, our audio recorder catches a female voice possibly saying, help me.
Good Lord.
Is this the voice of Mrs. Borden? Shortly after, Lizzie asked Maggie to go find the doctor across the street. At this time, the whereabouts of Mrs. Borden were unknown. Maggie returned to the house with a neighbor and claimed that Lizzie said this about Abby Borden. Quote, oh Maggie, I am almost sure I heard her come in. Go upstairs and see if she is there, end quote. Maggie and the neighbor walked upstairs to discover to their horror the body of Abby Borden laying face down on the floor of the guest bedroom. It was thought that Mrs. Borden may have been present for the murder of Mr. Borden and fled to the guest bedroom where she was also murdered.
That's strange because
Why?
if your pa is laying there, his head turned to blood oatmeal, and you hear mom come in, you're probably not just like, oh, I wonder what she's up to today. You're probably like, hey mom, you should probably come here. Not just, oh, I wonder if she's gonna go take a little nap. Right?
Yeah, I got a life-changing thing to tell you here.
Yeah. Got some heavy news. Now, oh yeah, I think she ducked in. We should probably give her a little holler.
Yeah.
Let her know.
Also the fact that she goes, look upstairs. I think I may have heard her go up that way, and that's where they find the body.
Yeah.
So you can start to see where things start to pile up against her. Alright, so we're about to go into Lizzie's room. Big bad Lizzie Borden. Didn't feel so weird in the other rooms, but I do feel very uncomfortable in here.
Oh yeah?
There's her right there.
Why, Lizzie?
Why? Maybe let's both save the thing, and maybe that'll get her out.
Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41.
Strangely, As soon as we finish reciting the Lizzie Borden rhyme, our audio recorder starts to pick up bizarre interference. It does this again when we whisper it.
What if we whisper it?
Lizzie Borden.
Lizzie?
Okay, get out of here. We disrespected this room too much. It's gonna kill us. We're sleeping here. We can't even run away.
Well, as you can see, no warning. We made it.
I don't think this place is haunted.
More than a century later, we are still trying to crack the Borden cold case. Last look at the Borden house. Perhaps one day we will know who committed the murders, but many believe that this case will forever be a victim to time and will always remain unsolved.
That wasn't so bad. And they were cute. I love it when he says, well, how come people who choke on a peanut don't get a ghost? My thoughts exactly. You know, there are a whole lot of people lived in that house besides Lizzie Borden and the family since then. So who knows? This is a very interesting television experience. It's 2 minutes long. It is from a television show called Dance Moms. And this was a ballet that was performed by one of the girls, the young girls, and it's a Lizzie Borden ballet. I think she won with this dance. She's very talented, and it's really quite good, but she's quite young with this hatchet, so. But she dances so beautifully. Wait. Ballet. I'd give her a 10. I thought she was very talented. It's an odd choice for a child to make, but I believe she did win with this because it was so different than what anybody else had done, and it became quite viral. It's a television show called Dance Moms, where they're like Sing Out Louise. They're like Gypsy, where they push their kids into theater, and then they compete. Kind of like John Bonet kind of stuff, but older, but dancing. So there's this whole circuit of girls who dance and compete, and this is that television show. Now, this is a blog by a woman who makes a ton of money doing this. It's very short. I wanted to share it with you, but I'm going to count on my fingers the mistakes she makes so that you and I can count together that in a very short amount of time how many errors of fact she comes up with in her highly entertaining blog.
It's not the
that's enough playing around. It's time to talk about something very serious. I need to tell you a story about a murderer because she's in the news again. That's right, I'm talking about Lizzie Borden. They found her journals, and apparently she had emotion. Are you with me? She killed her father and her stepmother. She did it. She was acquitted, not because there's another suspect, but just because there wasn't enough evidence. Reading her Wikipedia page terrified me, so much so that now I'm talking it out to just get over this for myself. This is the evidence against her. Oh my God, you guys. Number one, every door in their house was locked because there had been so many thefts inside her home. And Lizzie, according to her parents, was the main suspect. So she's already suspected of stealing from her parents in the house she lived in. Her father had changed his will to leave much more money to her stepmother. Her father allowed money and her stepmother was gonna get some of it. So Lizzie's like pissed. She went to go buy poison at a local pharmacy the day before her parents were killed.
Give me that poison.
They didn't sell it to her. They were like, no. So her stepmother was whacked 22 times in the head. And then, whether or not Lizzie did it, she was upstairs in her room. Her sisters reported laughing maniacally. Are we scared? Then her father came home, unlocked, the 8 doors to get to his room. He only needed 10 whacks to die. Both of the bodies were completely destroyed. Stepmother's eyeballs are out. It was a gory scene. Maybe that was just the dream I had last night. They found this hatchet in the basement that could have accurately killed both of these people. This would work. However, the handle was missing. See, I've seen Law and Order. Just with closed captioning at the gym, I know more about solving crime than they did in 1892.
Here's a clue.
The handle was gone because you can't clean the blood off the wood, but you can clean it off the metal. They're like, oh, this can't be it. She couldn't have done it without a handle. So then she went to trial for it. She was very stoic and totally serious. Her lawyers were like, oh, she's in shock. This is the main thing, people. Her dress that she'd been wearing that day, on the day of the murders, could have been used as evidence. However, it was unavailable because she burned it. Because she claimed there was fresh paint on it. We've all done that, right? Got a little paint on this, burn it. So then she went to trial, and they were like, there's not enough evidence. What more did you need? I imagine that her life afterward might have been harder, because everyone knew she killed her parents. There's always the one girl at a sleepover that you don't trust. It couldn't have been that easy. I just imagine the girls being like, let's play Fuck, Marry, Kill. And then Lizzie being like, yeah. And the girl's like, no, let's not play that. Let's play Truth or Dare. And Lizzie be like, yeah, okay, dare. But no, let's play cards. Yeah, I love to play cards. I hate to lose. You know? You hear that? You okay?
I had a strange dream. I woke up in a sweat. I don't have an apparent disposition to relax in the daytime, but in my sleep I fancy myself a bit less reserved. This dream was about dogs of all colors, kissing me, and there was a horse. He kissed me too. This is silly. No one wants to hear about dreams. Next day, I've just finished a piece of needlework that's been nagging me for months. Also, Father and I got in a terrible argument. I wish he were dead. Next day, I've been a bad girl. Next day, sleepover with the girls tonight. I'm so excited. Why does a ghost come to the bar? For the booze. I hate this show.
That's a joke.
I should just burn it. But I'm not crazy.
So, I just thought you should be aware of Lizzie Borden, and not that it really changes our lives. She's gone, and she's dead. And know now that we're safe.
What do you think? 4 minutes and 14 mistakes. Do you see how the story with the journal in the middle of it has now convinced this chick that there is a Lizzie Borden diary? And she's telling her audience, which is huge, that this diary exists. That's how it happens. One thing leads to another, which leads to another. And it's funny because I've done a lecture here before about the mythology of the case and how one story by one author will get transmutated into truth when it's an invention. Because people who knew Lizzie loved her and people who didn't make up stuff about her. And the only thing you can trust is the factual accuracy of Parallel Lives, in my opinion. Because the rest of it is schlock. And the rest of it, if it isn't really true fiction, should be ignored and taken as a grain of salt. For instance, Arnold Brown's book, The Truth, the Legend, the Final Chapter, it is a great read. It is entertaining as all get out, and when you read it, you're like, yeah, there really was an illegitimate son of Andrew Borden. Oh, yeah, that's the answer. And then you realize there's not a single footnote in the whole book. Then you realize that it's fiction, masquerading as nonfiction, and you wake up. But it's fun while you're reading it, right? But it needs to be in the fiction section, is all I'm trying to say. As an historian, I want it in the fiction section. In fact, I could go through a bookstore and just rearrange them all over. But this woman thinks she's very glamorous, and she's very beautiful, and she's very wrong. But she's perpetuating to a very large audience factual inaccuracies. Now, there's an artist out there called Lizzie of Maplecroft. That's how he names himself. And he has created these images, cartoon images-ish of Lizzie Borden. This is Lizzie, the killing of the cat episode. This is Lizzie teaching the Chinese at Chinese Sunday school and bored at it. This is Lizzie with Emma, I guess, having a picnic. This is Lizzie with her father, his penurious ways and shoving bodies into caskets. Lizzie with the Temperate Society. Lizzie stealing the hatchet. Lizzie in the barn. Lizzie on the grand tour. Lizzie with Alice Russell the night before. Lizzie with her stepmother, excuse me. Lizzie after the murder of her father. Lizzie burning the dress. Lizzie in court. Lizzie moving from 2nd Street. Lizzie living at 2nd Street and very upset with her party friends. Lizzie thinking about the dead. Good Lizzie, bad Lizzie. They're really quite talented. This person's quite talented. And then there's other art of Lizzie. The illustration on the right is like exceptional. It doesn't belong to a book. It's not an illustration for a book. It's an illustration that stands on its own. It's very old-fashioned and very sort of 40s-like as far as a magazine illustration. These are also pieces of art that are available for sale, depicting Lizzie in various stages of nubileness and innocence, always with a axe or an hatchet in her hand. This is a tattoo someone put on their body. A real tattoo. It's huge. No thanks. And she's green. And then the cartoons, then the humor involved in it. These are cartoons that have been created about the case. This one's kind of funny. What's the matter with you, Lizzie? We're making candles. We need wax, not an axe. Give us wax, Miss Borden. Lots and lots of wax. It's the untold story. Okay. So, did you invite Jessica? No, I was too nervous. Damn it, why can't adult parties work like the Lizzie Borden dance? I'm not touching this one. Did you say Lizzie Borden dance? Yeah, don't you have those in school where the girls ask out the boys? That's not what those dances are called. Oh, I guess I remembered it wrong. Am I close? No. And in terms of needlessly evoking very disturbing topics, I think you've stumbled upon the wrongest possible name. Well, heck, what are those dances called? Is it the Sophie's Choice dance? Dude, really? I stand corrected. You've topped yourself. Lizzie made it into Ripley's Believe It or Not for being a bed and breakfast in Fall River, and the fact that you can get mutton from the kitchen as you stay there, although I do not believe they serve mutton. They serve Johnny cakes, so that may be incorrect. What not to get Lizzie Borden for her birthday? Lizzie Borden, your mother and I will make a lady out of you if it kills us. This is my favorite. The Legend of Elsie Borden.
No, I loved Elsie.
Yes. I love the juxtaposition. I know the artist. He gave me permission. I can use it in anything. He's such a great guy. His name is Bill Kelly.
Where Elsie was famous.
The Lizzie Borden Axe Company. Oh, we rarely have any sexual harassment here. A Garfield. Hey, Garfield, we're going to visit Aunt Gussie. I know she's old and mean, but underneath she has a heart of gold. I hear she used to double date with Lizzie Borden. Lizzie Borden Museum souvenirs, anyone? How cute! And who are we? We're the Liz sisters. Liz Taylor, kiss kiss. Liz Borden, whack whack whack, slam. This is the 5th house that's given us a pamphlet on crisis intervention. Maybe we should try a neighborhood where they don't know us. Lizzie Borden was an amateur, that's for sure. And then, which postage stamp shall we choose? The good Lizzie or the bad Lizzie? Remember when they did the postage and they had us guess on the fat Elvis or the skinny Elvis? That's when this came out. So, Chad Mitchell Trio. I'm sure you all knew them, heard them in your life. They did the Yesterday in Old Fall River, Mr. Andrew Borden Died song. I was privileged enough to witness them at the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast sing that song a number of years ago. They were doing cruises, and the cruise bus came to the Borden Bed and Breakfast, and they were asked to sing the song, and they did. This is Chad Mitchell, Mike Koblich, and Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier passed away in 2014. Chad Mitchell's in the middle. This is them.
Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks, and when the job was nicely done, she gave her father 41. Yeah. Yesterday in Old Fall River, Mr. Andrew Borden died. They got his daughter Lizzie off the charge of homicide. Some folks say she didn't do it, others say of course she did. Oh, the greenest Lizzie B was a prodigal kind of kid. 'Cause they can't chop your papa up in Massachusetts. Not even if the plan was a surprise. So you can't chop your papa up in Massachusetts. You know how neighbors love to criticize. Oh, they got him on the sofa. She got him. We're gonna take a snooze, and I hope he went to heaven, 'cause he wasn't wearing shoes. Lizzie kind of rearranged him with a hatchet, so they say. Then she got her mother in that same old-fashioned way. But you can't chop your mama up in Massachusetts, not even if you're tired of her cuisine. Her cuisine, no, you can't chop your mama up in Massachusetts. You know it's almost sure to cause a scene. Oh, they really kept her hostage on that busy afternoon. Would bump down and upstairs shopping while she hung the rag on too. They really made her hustle. When all was said and done, she removed your mother's bustle when she wasn't wearing one. No, you can't chop your mama up in Massachusetts and then blame all the damage on the mice. On the mice. No, you can't chop your mama up in Massachusetts. And I would think this isn't very nice. Now, it wasn't done for pleasure, and it wasn't done for spite, and it wasn't done because the lady wasn't very bright. She'd always done the slightest thing that Mama and Papa did. They said, Lizzie, cut it out. So that's exactly what she did. But you can't chop your mama up in Massachusetts and then get dressed and go out for a walk. No, you can't chop your papa up in Massachusetts. Massachusetts is far right from New York. No, you can't chop your papa up in Massachusetts. Shut the door and lock and latch it. Here comes Lizzie with a brand new hatchet. You can't chop your papa up in Massachusetts. So she's not. I heard it said she better claw and cut it dead. You can't chop your papa up in Massachusetts. Jump, fish, and jump like performance all in hands and maybe score. You can't chop your papa up in Massachusetts.
what a joy they were, and they are no more. So, well, one of them isn't, so they're no longer the Chad Mitchell Trio. But this was one of their biggest hits, and it was a pleasure to see them at the B&B do this song in front of a group of people from their tour. It was quite an honor. What a great group of guys. So I want to thank you for coming to this talk. Sorry I grossed a whole bunch of you out. Very much apologize for that, and I hope you'll forgive me for that. But this is unfortunately where Lizzie Borden's come, and this is where Lizzie Borden is. And I think that it behooves us all to spread the word that Fall River isn't like this, that the Lizzie Borden story isn't like this, that the Lizzie Borden story is about history, and it's interesting, and it can get you involved in the history of Fall River, and the history of Victorian America, and the history of women's studies in Victorian America. And there's so much more to the story besides the blood and the gore, which is everywhere. Thank you very much.